And then I read the book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. You mean I have full control over what I create within my life? Like I can switch gears. Okay, let's try this out.
Hi, I'm Emma.
And I'm Lisa.
And this is There Are No Tangents.
Feels like I seen this all in a dream. What's the purpose of a human being? Never mind me. I'm just lost in my thoughts. What's the topic? Ain't no topic. Keep it going, no stopping. Don't get the picture, then we grab it. With no emotion, what's the line? We just lost in our thoughts. Not on the surface, beyond that. Pull back the curtains, I'm on that. Once we take it there, ain't no going back. Don't be losing the topic, man. We gotta stay on track. Yeah, you so crazy, yeah, I know it. Tell me a story, like a poet. Yeah, like a poet. We getting lost in our thoughts. Welcome to the show. Emma and Lisa, they already on the road.
So Dominique, what are some things that are like top of mind for you when you think about big shifts?
For myself, my big shifts have really been like internal throughout my life because of past experiences from unresolved trauma. I grew up really censoring my voice. I was a major people pleaser. And that really showed in all of my relationships. Like I was someone who never wanted to rock the boat because, going along with everyone else made me feel safe. Not sharing too much of my, thoughts or insights kept me safe because, of course, I'd be free of judgment or criticism. And so I really muted my voice a lot. I really became a chameleon with people that I dated even. And a lot of that now I know also shows up within my human design because I have a lot of openness. So that was a big part of just me not knowing who I really was on top of everything else. And so as I started my healing journey and I started really focusing on myself when I was probably 36, because I was tired of carrying around the victim mentality of, oh, I'm like this because this happened to me, or I wish I could do this or be this, but I can't because this happened to me. And I really carried that with me throughout my lifetime. And then I read the book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. You mean I have full control over what I create within my life? Like I can switch gears. Okay, let's try this out. And that just started the whole spiral of obsession around human behavior, trauma, the effects of trauma, pretty much anything to do with protective mechanisms, what makes us do the things we do. And over the years, I came to find out that these layers I was peeling away, kind of like an onion, were layers of conditioning that I carried throughout my lifetime that was hiding the true me. And I have memories when I was really, really young before I experienced any of the trauma, but I have very few memories after that because dissociation was one of my protective mechanisms. I would just check out. I'd get teased by my friends all the time about having the worst memory and like, how could you not remember this or that? But for me, that's how I protected myself. That's how my nervous system wanted to protect me. Mm-hmm. And as I peeled these layers away, I was like, wow, this person feels really familiar. The curiosity, the talkative nature, the ability to go up to anyone and just ask questions about them or just carry conversation, where I could not do that to save my life growing up. And I asked my parents to give me 5 words to describe me as a child, like before the age of 5. And all of these words came out of their mouth. Curious, outgoing, talkative, full of life and love. And I was like, I am feeling that again. And I could not believe it. And then that kind of started me on to look into human design. I had loved astrology, came across human design, and that really, again, spiraled into an obsession, since now I am getting certified in it, because it helped me to gain greater awareness of how my conditioning kind of came about, how it affected me throughout my lifetime up until today. And through the whole process, it really showed me that if, as a whole, this world could look at each other and themselves, each person themselves, through a lens of compassion or a trauma-informed lens, the shift that we could create in this society would be extraordinary. The shift in greater love, greater acceptance for one another. I mean, because I saw that shift within myself when I started to view myself through a lens of compassion, viewing my clients and teaching them how to do the same thing. And for my clients, that has been, according to their words, the greatest gift that they received through the coaching is to be okay with who they are, to know that, they're not a bad person. They're not wrong. They're not broken. They don't need fixing. And that's where it starts, when we can begin to accept ourselves. I also say it doesn't excuse anything. It explains things. So just because you're looking at others with compassion, it doesn't mean, what they're doing, if it's really wrong, doesn't mean it's okay. It's not excusing it, but it explains things, and it starts with the awareness. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's amazing. I really appreciate you sharing that and being so vulnerable about sharing some of your past history with the trauma. And it's wonderful that you've been able to take that, and now, as it's shifted you internally, and now you're able to pour out into other people in that way and help them find those shifts. That's so wonderful.
Yeah, it's been an exciting process. And that's really like when I knew I wanted to shift gears from physical therapy, that's when I was like, okay, I want to help people at such a deeper level, not just, physically, but the emotional well-being, because I believe that's what shifts everything else in our lives.
I totally, I can relate to that. I wasn't a physical therapist or anything like that, but I did used to be like a personal trainer. And so I always felt that. And I've always felt this connection to, like holistic health, right? Just all of these different components, they impact one another. You can't separate them. And so it was just this constant, like, oh man, but feeling as though I didn't have the tools. Like I can see what's going on, with these folks, and I can see how all of the stress in their life or all of these different things are absolutely impacting how they're showing up in their lives. But I'm like, but I'm not like a therapist or a coach in that way. And like, so I can mention it, and I can, I couldn't do anything besides maybe pointing those things out to them. But, it was hard because, you could just see like their mind spinning these different stories and how their emotions would take them on a ride. And then that would like lead to them not fulfilling their goals that they would have for their physical well-being. And then,
Right.
Me wanting to just be like, but it's okay. Like you need to focus on this. And then, but anyway, so I relate in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough when you're someone who can see all the good in somebody else and can see so clearly what, it is that is holding them back. And there's plenty of people that just have this sense of knowing what somebody else needs, but sometimes can't explain it, or, you don't want to explain it the wrong way, because then that could be triggering for the person. And, it's really, really tough, because I always felt the same way as well, where I saw the good in someone. And that was also part of what was not great about how I handled things when I was younger, because I had a habit of, specifically with people that I dated, moving towards the person that needed a little bit more help than I really could give them, because I just saw how much potential there was. However, I was never holding them accountable to their own growth. And that definitely kind of got me in some spots that weren't great. But that's still one of the things that I love the most about myself, is being able to sense those things about someone.
Absolutely. Yeah. I always say, like, Karrie would know this from like the Enneagram community, where like, the best of you is also the worst of you,
Yeah.
And so it's like, we have these incredible gifts and they're wonderful, but sometimes, they can get a little contorted, or right. Like I remember, as a 6, I really do feel like I'm very loyal and steadfast, in a lot of ways. And I remember here goes therapy again, talking to my therapist and expressing some concerns with, relational difficulties, and saying, and I'm such a loyal person, and it's hard for me to let go and transition sometimes. And like, as you're saying, like, I see the good and I remember what it was. And so I don't understand why it's now changed, and the cognitive dissonance builds. And anyway, she was just kind of point blank, like, you are very loyal and that's wonderful, but can't you also be loyal to a fault? And I was like, yep.
You're like, check.
I
Yeah.
absolutely can. And now I'm going to go think about this. So yeah. So anyway, but I love that you recognize that as one of your gifts. That's great.
Yeah, it's been a beautiful journey, a major struggle, of course, at times, but it has just been so fascinating, because I also spent most of my life thinking, like, what's the purpose of life? Like, okay, I'm just gonna be here, work, do whatever I need to do, and then die. I'm like, I was also someone just that didn't really see a purpose, and didn't believe in really having a purpose. And that, again, was a major shift when I started peeling away those layers of everyone else's beliefs and values and stories, and really went inside and asked myself all those questions without anyone else's, impact. And that was just, it was such a beautiful thing to start to see unravel.
Yeah. Do you know your Enneagram? Are you an attachment type? Are you 3, 6, or 9?
I'm a 9.
Are you? Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
With a lot of a strong 3-ness too.
I was going to say, that's got to be one of your fixes.
The 3 is
I
that?
would think. I would think.
I'm always so fascinated about that, because I know, Karrie, you said before, was it a 6? Like, at my healthiest, I go to a 6. Is that what 9s do, or is it the 3?
3 in health.
Okay. So then, all right,
which makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that does make a lot of sense.
Because I definitely used to see a lot of the 1 wing in myself for a long time, and I don't really see it that much now. But I also don't know as much about it as you guys. But I think it's so fascinating, Karrie, whenever you mention things like that, like, okay, yeah, that's because it's the healthy state, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I can see the 1 wing. For sure. Definitely, like, because you definitely are very warm and heart forward, but you're like, you seem very competent. Like, I see a lot of competency, like their wing, 1's a competency, type, as well as 3. So it's interesting.
Cool. Very cool.
Anyway, I'm not here to type you. I'm just here to.
No, I love that. Like, I'm just curious. Learning more.
You will be thinking about it.
Yeah.
Dominique, how did you find your type?
The Enneagram type?
Yeah. Did you
just
read
going
about it?
on? No, I just went online and I did a couple of different tests, and it was between 9 or a 1. And I know then it goes for the wings, but it was always like 9 or 1 that I had gotten with some of the tests. But that's pretty much, yeah. I never paid for a test though. It was always the free one. So I don't know how good that would be, but.
Gotcha. Well, you and Karrie know each other pretty well. And Karrie, do you feel like that's probably pretty?
Yeah, I mean, I think she's highly likely a 9.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
you've
looks
said
like
that for a
you're
while.
saying resonated with me too. And I'm like, I would say almost definitely a 9.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. 9-wing-1. Yeah. I was going to ask you, Lisa, and see like, okay, was any of that pinging?
Oh yeah, definitely. Absolutely. For sure.
Very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, I was curious, Dominique, if you wanted to talk a little bit more maybe about weaving together the trauma-informed coaching with human design, like in practical terms for your clients. Are you interested in talking about that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what I'm going to be really focusing on moving forward is pulling up each person's body graph so that way we can kind of take a closer look at where they may be more susceptible to conditioning and how the different stories play out in their lives, the stories that the client is carrying. And a lot of it is really, for me, was identifying what stories were mine, what weren't mine, what type of protective mechanisms were mine, and why. And I also work a lot in nervous system regulation when it comes to the trauma informed side, because ultimately we have to create safety within our body in order to move forward and to heal. And that goes with like anxiety, depression, PTSD, any type of really pain point in life that we might feel emotionally pretty much stems from a dysregulated nervous system. So with human design, that kind of falls into, especially around the spleen center. And so that allows me to kind of tie in more nervous system work if there's a lot kind of going on in that spleen center with the fear patterns and stories. So
It's like, yes. And I have almost all of the gates around my spleen that are
yeah,
yeah.
I have my spleen center is open. So
Mm,
not only am I absorbing a lot and amplifying, but I have a lot of the gates highlighted as
okay.
well.
That's
Yeah.
just super interesting to me. Okay. Sorry. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. No. So that's why I just think it's such a beautiful combination, because you have the trauma informed side where, I know how to approach things. I know how to converse without triggering someone. And that is just so incredibly crucial, because the last thing you want to make someone feel like is they're being blamed or judged or shamed. And also to feel like they have full control over what they can and cannot share or, want to share. So having that piece mixed into it, I think just brings together such, again, like a beautiful marriage, because trauma is about, deconditioning, peeling away the layers of everything that you're not, and teaching your body that it is safe. Human design can help you identify who you really are outside of all of that conditioning and the patterns that we carry.
Yeah. That makes so much sense, really, to put those two things together. That's awesome.
It's so exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was really excited to, I know Lisa was excited, so I was excited to have the 3 projectors on, because, I've heard all of you say it's more of a rare energy type, right?
Yeah.
And so the fact that it's 3 versus 1 here, I think that's
know.
pretty cool. So, I mean, that would be kind of neat to like, so Karrie, I know you've talked a lot about, and I think I've heard you all talk about this on your podcast too. Like, what has it shown you? Like, how do you, Karrie, like being Enneagram informed and also knowing about like your human design and all of that? Like, how do I want to ask this? Are they so overlapped and meshed for you in your mind now that, okay, you use them for separate things? That's what I'm trying to get at. Like,
I do.
okay.
Well, I think my human design, I don't know my human design super deeply. So I know like the basics of being a projector and what that can mean. And then things Dominique has told me about my personal chart. So I'll just talk from the projector lens, not like going into the profile and all of that.
Sure.
I think being a projector is at complete odds with being a type 1. Because type 1s, generally are hardworking and do all the things that they see people not doing right. And they maybe overexert themselves unnecessarily because they want to make everything perfect. And I think also, like, growing up in the Midwest, like, hard work was the number one value that my family like told us was important when you're an adult. Like, you need to be hardworking, you need to like give your job your all, your job needs to be very important, and you need to be really good at it and valued and be a team player and all of these things. And I just like got so burnt out because I was doing all that and I was not valuing or allowing myself rest. And when I did rest, I felt so guilty that I wasn't. Like, I always knew there was more I could be doing. There was more work I could be doing.
I absolutely feel that.
And just honoring how much rest I actually need is, I'm still trying to deconstruct that because I still catch myself thinking I'm being lazy and avoiding naps, even if I feel tired, and beating myself up for like not getting up early in the morning and things like that.
So it sounds like that's brought in a lot more like self-acceptance, right? Like for just your natural state. Like,
I'm trying to get to self-acceptance, but it makes me feel like, at least, oh, like this is naturally how I am. Like, and I grew up, both my parents are generators and my sister's a manifesting generator. So I grew up in a very energetic, get up early, let's get started household.
Yeah, that's what makes it so confusing for projectors, especially again, since projectors make up approximately 20% of the population. And the majority of everyone in our lives is going to be a generator of some sort. And so if we're constantly trying to keep up with them and match, what they're here to do, that's incredibly confusing for projectors. And that's why projectors will burn out more like sooner in life. Like, I hit burnout at 28. I think, Karrie, you around that age, right? Felt like,
but my body did, because that's when I got diagnosed with a chronic illness.
And myself too at 28. A lot of times for projectors, it's around that the Saturn return, 28 to kind of 30 years of age. And it's something that happens, and it's typically because you're hitting burnout, like you're frying your circuit. And mine was a nervous system disorder that I was diagnosed with at 28. So yeah, for projectors, and I think, because I struggle, Karrie, with the same thing, like being okay with taking a nap and not working more than what my body will allow me. And now I actually pick up on the signs that my body sends me. I get red, my nose and my cheeks get red at like on the dot, 1 p.m. every single day. It's like my body is telling me, okay, slow down, stop working now. And when I do take a break and rest, I'm fine. It's like my nervous system is just like, okay, we've had enough. We need a break. And it's just finding just the change in the pattern and working on that consistently. It's hard.
Yeah. It definitely, I can see where it would be in our society for sure. I'm like, oh, okay, I need something in my chart to say, you can also stop beating up on yourself and slow down. So I need to find where that is. So this outside authority can tell me that it's okay to do it because I'm but
we probably all need to slow down.
We all need to slow down.
Even our Manny Gens, even though you have that energy, like, it's not unlimited.
Yeah, it's definitely not. Yeah, that's for sure. And you said something, I don't know if it was Karrie, I think it was you, Dominique. You were talking about the Saturn return thing for projectors or whatever. Does that show up in some form or fashion multiple times throughout the human design? Because when you said that, it made me think, I read something about that with the 6 line, my 6 line,
Yeah, because you go through different phases, your process is different phases. So later on in life is kind of when you really like hit that aha, moment where things just feel real settled and, kind of complete in a way. But yeah, we have different Saturn returns that we will go through. And so that's probably what you're thinking of. That first one.
When's our next ones?
Like what was it? 28?
Years.
Yeah. Add 28 to 28. All right, let's do math.
I'm 56.
No.
Yeah.
I get made fun of so much, like by my husband, because he's like, you don't know your multiplication tables. And I'm like, I know some of them. But if you're like 8 times 7, I'm like
56. I know.
You win. Yeah.
That's it though.
Yeah. Here is something. Okay. So on that topic, to take this to astrology, Dominique, I'm a Capricorn, sun and moon, and Virgo rising. I mean, that's not exactly a lot of relaxation. Are you too? Like, I'm not.
Oh my gosh. I was going to ask everyone's big 3. So I love that you did.
Yeah.
I'm Taurus sun, Gemini moon, and Virgo rising.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, I'm a Scorpio sun. Then my moon is Libra and I'm an Aries rising. And so, yeah, I definitely have more, especially with the Aries, side of it, the more energy and the work as well. But like, I do notice that mentally, I can't think clearly if I'm really just too tired or burnt out. And for me, it's more of like, okay, I need to go to bed before I'm really, really tired. I need to get at least 8 hours. And then I'm usually pretty good if I do work a full day the next day. But I just kind of manage my energy day by day. And I just try my best to not work past what my body is okay with.
Mm-hmm. What were you going to say about that? Also, wait, before you answer your thing about the Capricorn, what am I? Gemini sun, Aries, I think I'm Aries moon, and Leo rising.
Well, yeah, I think that's right, because my North Node is in Leo.
Yep. Okay. All right. What were you going to say about the Capricorn thing?
Say like Capricorn sun and Virgo rising is not exactly a super relaxed person.
Yeah, no, but you can use that energy like in a more, I don't know, laid back, easygoing way, as being a guide and a projector, I don't know.
Yeah, it's very confusing to me. Because it is hard to relax, because I'm always like, oh, well, I have this thing to do. And if I just get it done, then I won't have to think about it anymore. Oh, I have this. If I can just get it done, then I won't have to think about it. And I don't want to have to like have the stuff hanging over my head. And then it's, whatever, late and I'm exhausted. And then it's not like I don't have anything else left the next day or whatever. It's still like there's always like something. And so figuring out that is like,
and in your human design chart, do you have an open head center? And yeah.
Okay. I think my ajna might be colored in.
Okay, so you have the defined, yeah.
I can't remember, but definitely open head.
And then also, depending on if you have an open, is it the root, knowing when enough is enough?
That is defined for me. It's all very confusing in terms of how things play out, but it's conditioning, natural.
That's also it. Like, okay, is it conditioning because you saw your parents do it that way, or whatever it may be?
Sure, right, exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'm just sitting here. I thought you were going to say something else, Lisa.
No, that was it.
Oh, I know. I was waiting I thought you were about to say something. I'm like,
about, what have you asked about? Oh, just like I guess it was the interaction of your Enneagram type and human design.
Oh, yeah. Just to see how, like, if you've noticed either similarities or contradicting things, or if what I was, I think, getting at was like, are there places where, so for me, I'll just speak, and I don't use the human design a lot, but it has been really powerful for me to just even read a little bit about the 4 and 6 line, right? Like that feels so true for me. So that's, just to kind of understand myself better. But I think the biggest way I use human design, and I don't even probably do this as much as I should, is with the authority and the emotional authority, because I have the, all the generators, I guess, have that sacral defined or whatever. So I will get like initial, like, oh yeah, like I want to, and so sometimes I want to act on that right then, but I think, okay, all right, maybe I need to just kind of let this wave ride out, and then I'll see how I'm feeling about it. But I've found that it doesn't really work quite as much the opposite way, right? Because I'm not going to have like a strong ass no and then be like, well, let me just sit with this. So I'm like, it's more when something is like, yeah, oh, that sounds so fun. But then I have to sort of, peel it back or whatever. So anyway, I guess what I'm asking is like, are there components of human design you use more for specific things versus like Enneagram, la, la, la?
I love that you really focus on the authority, because I think for me, that is like the most important thing, because that's your intuition. That's how you're making the best decision for yourself. And so many of us don't know what our intuition feels like and sounds like. Totally. Or we assume like, oh, I'm going to feel it in my gut. Like I'm going to get this gut instinct. And that is just not the case. There's so many different ways. So when I am really just trying to get someone more aware of what their body graph is showing them, like I focus on their type and their strategy, which I kind of just combine as one, the authority for sure, and the profile, which is that for you, Emma, the 4-6. And, I always say, if you know those 3 areas, you can do so much with your life. You can really just get the ball rolling in the direction that you're desiring. And I don't know enough about the Enneagram myself to really pull that in, even to my everyday life. Like, I know I'll say certain things and Karrie will be like, oh, that's type 9. And it just always is like, yeah, that's just me. Like that feels like a part of me. And probably because I've worked on so much of the deconditioning already throughout the years, that a lot of the shifts in the wing, or whatever you might call it, aren't as obvious to me. And it's very much more of, I focus so much on my energy and what I'm feeling, because I've done so much work to try to get into my body since I used to dissociate. So human design has really helped me process that even more so. Again, like, what is my energy? What is somebody else's energy? The emotions that I do feel coming through, like, because I'm a non-emotional, I can better understand, like, okay, it's because this person is maybe feeling this today. And since I'm amplifying things, I'm like magnifying maybe like a 2 out of 10 of sadness into a 7 out of 10, so it just has given me so much more awareness with the focus on the human design side when it comes to that body awareness.
Yeah. I think Dominique is a great example of like seeing a 9. I mean, I didn't know her as well and personally before she started doing a lot of her work on herself and her trauma, but like how she describes herself, like seeing like her moving through the stages of the levels of development, if we want to call them that, or just like from an unhealthy 9 to a healthy 9,
right?
With how much she was dissociated,
right?
And how out of touch with her body she was out of touch with her anger. Like she said, she never wanted to rock the boat. She went with the flow. She just suppressed her own opinions and her her own self and tried to make herself as
Yeah.
small as possible. And that's not at all how I perceive you now. Like,
small means safe to me. If I'm invisible, I'm like safe. That was me. And that's why it was so hard for me to start like getting on camera, like face to face and doing things on YouTube and even just speaking my thoughts in my mind more openly, because that was not keeping me small.
Which it is interesting. I mean, you could have been a 3 in going to your 9 in extreme unhealth. Like, not to rock your whole world, but
I know.
I know.
I'm fascinated by this whole thing. I'm going to keep thinking about all of this after we log off for sure.
I want to hear more.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be happy to share.
That's awesome. I love all of it, like how it all comes together. And again, it's a self-awareness tool. Nothing's written in stone and, it's not a cult or anything. It's just like, nope, this is going to give you some tools especially because these things have been around for centuries, like astrology, the Kabbalah, the Chinese I Ching, like these are ancient systems that have been used, I mean, forever. It's not new. And it's fascinating.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you all wanted to say or anything else you would like to touch on before we were going to end with a little question that we've been asking, which if I can find it, I had it right here. I thought, oh, there it is. Kind of ask our sort of little wrap-up question. And it's an easy question. We've been asking it to everybody.
No, I think this is just so exciting to finally be on with you guys. Cause I think it's so cool, like how you, Emma and Lisa have kids, Karrie and I don't have kids. And we're both in this, space of the self-awareness, discovery. And again, like how our paths have just kind of started with podcasts. This is just so much fun. So thank you very much.
And we can't wait to have you on our podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. We're both very excited about that as well. Awesome. All right. Here's the little question. So is there a lesson you've learned or a takeaway that feels important to you after some of the shifts and transitions you've had in your life? Like, is there something that you're like, here's one thing I've kind of taken away or learned about myself, and it can be deep or not deep or whatever. Doesn't matter. Whoever wants to jump in.
I think for myself, it's kind of how I mentioned, learning to view ourselves and others through a lens of compassion. And the more compassion we can hold for ourselves, then the more of that shift that can come from what we're desiring if we are working on becoming a better person, because it removes so much of the shame and blame that comes with just experiencing life and having to go through trial and error. And that lens of compassion was huge for me.
Yeah, it's a good one.
This is not an easy question.
Oh, sorry. Well, okay. How about this? I think I said, okay, it doesn't have to be the one lesson you've learned. It could be one of the many lessons. I don't know if that's helpful.
All of mine, I feel like sounds so cliche for my type, but it is what it is. Like truly, this is a little embarrassing to even admit, because this is like, most people would probably already have this lesson as a child, but like truly knowing that there's more than one way to do something or to go about life, like seriously, that has been a huge adjustment for me, to like be open and to like allow, especially at this phase in my life when I am living again in my childhood home and like seeing how my parents do things, like not at all how I would do anything, and accepting that and being okay with it and not correcting it.
Yeah. I just thought of a story you shared with me, and I don't know if you're willing to share.
Oh, I know what it is. Go ahead.
Will you share that?
I think it's what you.
I think it involves your sister, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Is it when I said to my sister, this was probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. I said to my sister, we were like on a weekend getaway together with our partners, and I randomly said, I forget why, don't you just wish everyone in the world, is this it, Emma?
Yes.
Don't you just wish everyone in the world thought exactly how you do? Like the world would be such an amazing place if everyone just thought how I thought. Like I've thought that my whole life and still do. And my sister, her jaw dropped and she was mortified. I even had this thought in my head and she was like, do you really think that? Like, you really think that if everyone thought how you thought, the world would be great? Like diversity is what makes the world amazing and blah, 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 blah. And I just was like, oh, okay. Never say that again to someone because it is not right to think that. But yeah, I truly felt like that. Emma, did I tell you that when we were kids, my sister, I was probably an early teen. And so she was 10-ish probably. She's 3 years younger than me. On our old school printer that like went printed out this big sign that said Karrie's rules. Number 1, Karrie's always right. Number 2, see rule number 1. And she meant it as like an insult. And I was like, thank you. And I like hung it in my room. I thought it was like the most genius thing anyone ever realized about me.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
I love that. Yes, I'd forgotten about that story, but you did tell me that. I love it. That's too funny. I appreciate you being vulnerable enough to share that story. That's, I mean, we all have shit like that. I mean, so, but this is about y'all. So we're not going to like venture into, so anyways, I love it so much. Lisa, was there anything else, any other questions or whatever?
Oh goodness, not specifically about the transitions necessarily, but like I would love to just talk to you guys more about being a projector and human design in general, Dominique, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anytime.
Out.
This is like exactly what we love talking about.
Yeah.
Nonstop.
Yeah. I would love that. That's what that's what I was just thinking about, Emma. Okay.
That's what your brain, your brain is working with lots of questions with especially that one.
Lisa, do you have many projectors in your life? Because Dominique was the first projector I met in person or like in my real life. And it was like,
yes, no, I literally don't know anybody's human design except for Emma's. And I've done my husband and my kids. Of course, they're all generators and manifesting generators. Like everybody's human design that I do know are generators or manifesting generators, everyone. But that's not necessarily that many people. Like I don't know anybody who's human design. So not sure, but yeah, you guys are the first people I've actually talked to who are projectors. So
yeah,
that's so cool. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun to come on with you guys again and chat more about it.
Yeah. And you could maybe provide further instruction and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that could be a really helpful episode. I'll have to read up on my stuff too, because I know very little. Do what?
I need to refresh my memory on a lot of my things. Yeah.
It is so incredibly complex. It's insane, like how complex it is.
Well, this has been wonderful. And we would absolutely love to have y'all on again sometime and look forward to being on y'all's pod at some point as well in the future. And this is great. We appreciate you sharing, some of the transitions and shifts that you've gone through, as well as like throwing in some of this other content with human design, Enneagram, all that. This is exactly, I think, what we were hoping for in terms of like, it helps to give that language, right? Like as we're describing these things, it's like, okay, well, here's how I kind of make sense of that, or here's what this has taught me. And so anyway, I'm just appreciative to you all.
Yeah.
It's been so awesome.
Yeah. I loved meeting you guys.
I know. I feel like I know you, but I don't, obviously.
Likewise, this is so much fun. And then, yes, we cannot wait to have you guys on our podcast really soon.
Yay. Great. Well, we will put your all's information in the show notes for anybody who wants to reach out or connect with you all in any way. And so, yeah, it'll be there. All right.
Thank you.
all.
You.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, let's get it.
Thanks for hanging with us through today's tangents. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back again soon, but meanwhile, you can follow along with us on Instagram at No Tangents. We would love it if you would subscribe and maybe even consider leaving us a review, a highly complimentary one.
No topic, keep it going, no, don't stop it. Don't get the picture, then we crap it. With no emotion, what's the logic? We just lost in our thoughts.